welcome back to another episode of Dollar Bin Digging. This is the video and article that I do for comicbookinvest.com, where I talk about those books you can still probably find tucked away in those cheap boxes, those discount bins, those dollar boxes at your LCS, your half-price books, flea markets, yard sales, wherever you're doing your cheap comic hunting. These are some things I think you can still find that are based off of some of the recent news, rumors, announcements, and most of all, things going on in the actual comics. So storylines and ideas and topics that are popping up in the books you're reading now. I'm trying to tie them back to some other things you might be able to go and dig out of those boxes. Kind of like a fun scavenger hunt kind of thing. But with that all said, I hadn't planned on doing one of these today. I didn't think I'd have enough time, but I ended up having a little bit of downtime. So this one might be a little short. I threw it together kind of last minute just to come up with some ideas off of some of the books that I read this week. So hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully you're enjoying everything else here on the channel as well. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And if you want to see the books I got them on the brain today, just hang out for a few seconds after the intro and I will be right back. All right, with that all said, let's get right to it and into the comics that I read this week. Now, I read a few more than the ones I'm going to cover here today, but a few that I did read this week kind of tied into some fun stuff that I think you can go and dig for. So, with that said, let's start off with a book that actually surprised me. I had very, very low expectations for this Deadpool Wolverine comic. I figured this was just a cash grab based off the popularity of the movie, and they said, hey, let's just throw together a title featuring these two characters and people will buy it. Kind of like that weapon extraction storyline, which I think was kind of lame. It was, the one that was in the backups of all those Marvel books like a month or so ago, or a couple months ago. I didn't care for weapon extraction. It was just kind of drawn out. I didn't dig it. This, however, like I said, was a pleasant surprise, and it's a storyline that I'm kind of into and seeing where it's going to go. With that said, while reading it, yes, I thought about covering Maverick because he pops up in this book, but starting off, I saw this group here, the Office of National Emergency, or ONE, as it's more known and abbreviated as in the Marvel Universe. I said, hey, who are these guys? They seem to be some sort of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. It's like, well, they're not S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. They're in an old S.H.I.E.L.D. warehouse, but they work for another government agency, and that one, like I said, is ONE, the Office of National Emergency. This is more of a mutant-related, again, considering the book that is Deadpool and Wolverine, it makes sense, but sort of a mutant relegating kind of a task force there that the government put together back during the House of M. And that is when we first saw these kind of tied to Sentinels and kind of tied to, again, keeping the mutants down. This was House of M the day after Mutants No More, that decimation storyline. Inside this book is when we were first introduced to Val Cooper and this team, or this group, the Office of National Emergency. So, interesting. And if you want to go pick it up, this is an interesting book that does a little bit better than you might expect. I mean, prices are kind of inconsistent, but this House of M Day After book, it does okay sometimes. I mean, look, sure, copies sold recently are not that impressive. They're about $3. So, okay, nothing to write home with the actual recent sales. But when you look at some listings, I have a bunch here that are listed for only like $7, $8. But there are more that were asking closer to 20 here and there. Granted, they're not getting the $20 right now, but the idea is that at one time, and the people selling it believe they can get it, it's an interesting ask, them going up to $20. Who knows? Maybe one day they'll get back up to that. But for now, yeah, copies are only selling for a few bucks. This is, like I said, again, something you can go and dig out of those boxes if you want to go and tie in to what we might be seeing more of. I don't know how involved ONE is going to be in this storyline. They're just kind of an opening to the big reveal later in the book. And again, I'm sorry if I'm spoiling it for you, but I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm spoiling things with these tie-ins. But those two soldiers released a bigger threat when they were digging through that warehouse. And that threat was revealed at the end of the book. And that's going to get into my next option for you. And that's the character of Strife. You remember Strife? Sort of a evil cloned Cable duplicate, had a big shiny silver helmet that never ended. It just kept going with layer after layer after layer. Yeah, I mean, Liefeld creation after all. This view here is kind of cool looking. I like the one shoulder cape look. I don't know, it's kind of a cool look, especially with the armor. But in this, we've got the character behind what was kind of semi-controlling Deadpool for a bit throughout this storyline, and it was Strife. Now, Strife, like I said, goes back a ways. Goes back to Cable, for for all intents and purposes. Granted, there was like a arm cameo in issue 86. So, I mean, you can go and pick up New Mutants 86 if you want to see Strife's arm, because, I mean, that technically was an arm there at the tail end of the book when they were introducing the Mutant Liberation Front. But he, like Cable, really did show up in New Mutants 87. Now, I'm not telling you you're going to find New Mutants 87 in a dollar bin. I mean, it's not going to, I mean, not to say it can't happen. Chances are very slim. I mean, this is first Cable after all. It's a very popular book from January 1990. But I'm just pointing out because inside this is, all intents and purposes, the accepted first appearance of Strife. First full, whatever the heck you want to call it, Strife is in this book. Okay, like I said, the issue before, you saw his arm. Here we get the full reveal again with all the spikes and the big helmet and how the cape is popped up as high as it is. I don't know, but that's him. Another option, again, that's what I'm here to do for you, is to give you another option, something else to go and hunt related to this. If you like collecting these sort of things, now I know a lot of people are anti-preview. I get it. It's not exactly the same thing as a comic book. But if you want to go and hunt previews, or you just want to have something fun to hunt, you can go and look for the Marvel Age. And this is Marvel Age number 80, Marvel Age number 82. Because inside the guts of this one, granted, this is featuring Squadron Supreme on the cover, but inside the guts of this, we get some previews of some of the characters that Rob Liefeld's looking to introduce, including Strife. This is in New Mutant Skid. I mean, look at the early look at Cable. He had brown hair. He didn't have white hair. It wore a lot of greens and gray tones and browns. And then, hey, this character Cougar, who we got him in Youngblood, but he sketched him here in Marvel Age first. And you saw the date. Oh, we'll just go back to it just in case you missed it, because I missed it. But this was September of '89. So September of '89, we got the preview. Then they showed up in New Mutants in dressed at the turn of the year in 1990, so January 1990. So a couple of months ahead, we got the preview here in Marvel Age. So, like I said, you want to hunt previews, you can, because there he is. Slightly changed. He doesn't have the red chain link pants or whatever, but for all intents and purposes, it's pretty much the same Strife. Again, this is a book and a preview that does all right for itself. You can see it already sells for 10 to 12 bucks. And copies you can find listed are as cheap as $6, as high as 20. Again, just a fun book for you to go and hunt when you're out there digging for books this weekend. Next, we're going to stick with Cable, because Cable also had a new #1 this week, and I want to talk about this book. So, Cable, Love and Chrome, following up on that with a Time book. It wasn't Timeless, because Timeless was what was there before. Whatever, the book with him and with Bishop, kind of following up on that. But anyway, Cable, Love and Chrome, new this week, not last week. It was new this week. Sorry, I didn't update the deck there. But inside this book, he gets introduced to this kind of a new love interest here for Cable. And this is Commander Avery Ryder. Now, her first appearance was in that book with Bishop before this, so I'm not telling you to go and look for that. But this one is more about the idea of their connection that they have here. And they immediately connect with each other because he sees someone like him infected with the techno-organic virus. Because as a baby, and you guys remember the old storyline, Cable was infected, or Nathan Summers was infected with the techno-organic virus, and he had to get sent to the future to keep himself alive until he could use his telekinesis to kind of hold it at bay, yada, yada, yada. And here, he meets somebody else who is infected and surviving and not yet turned. Cool. But, like I said, we're looking at the techno-organic virus as a whole. And again, it's been represented in a lot of different ways and tied to the phalanx and a lot of like retcons and backstories that were kind of changed and tweaked over the years. But originally, the kind of original idea and onus behind this is, like I said, that what happened to Cable with Apocalypse as a baby. And that happened in X Factor. X Factor 68, to be exact, when we did get kind of introduced to the idea that Cyclops had to give up his son. So they're going up against, Apocalypse, yada, yada, yada. And you see little Nathan gets infected and he's got to get sent into the future to survive. Cool. This happens here. This is still a book. It's really, really cheap. Like, I don't get it why it's as cheap as it is, but it is. This is a book that's only a couple of bucks. Look, $2.99. One sold for 25 cents. A quarter. Copies listed $2, $3, $8. It's not a pricey book. This is classic X-Men stuff there from the 90s. And I don't know. It's one of the books you should probably just go pick up if you can find it. It's a good little backstory piece. Like I said, the storyline itself was pretty fun. The whole X Factor versus Apocalypse and all that was a decent little storyline. And then again, as you know how it ends, you had the whole Ascani and all that stuff. We kind of touched in on it just a week or two ago when we did this. We were talking about the Ascani, but hey, or the mother Ascani. But again, fun storyline. Go back, pick up these issues. You can find all these X Factor books for cheap and give it a read. Now, with that all said, for those of you out there who haven't yet tried Whatnot, use my link below and get yourselves a free $15 just to give it a try, to spend on whatever you want with whomever you want. No strings attached. You try out the app, you help out the channel, you get yourself something nice with a free $15. You got nothing to lose. And if you can't get yourself something for 15 bucks, you at least get 15 bucks off whatever your order is going to be. So if you're buying something more expensive, you're just saving some money. Nothing wrong with saving money. So do it while you can. With that said, let's keep it rolling and get over to DC for a new book that I got to talk about this week. I know, again, I forgot to change this stupid deck, and it says new last week, but it was new yesterday, basically. So new this week, JSA number 3. We also reviewed this one on TAC as well. So, I was already reading it. Felt a little lost because there's so many characters and so much going on, and I think I missed issue 2. Like, I read issue 1, and then I missed issue 2, and by the time we got to 3, I was like, what the heck's going on? There's so many different storylines and so many different characters. There was a lot of different angles I could have taken with this. But many of the characters are very, very classic characters, and we're not going to be able to grab their firsts or books tied to them for real cheap because, again, these are Golden Age type tie-ins when we're talking about the Justice Society. However, a lot of the characters are on the newer side, and that's the beauty of the JSA book. It's that you're taking the classics, the Golden Age, and tying them in with the new crop, the new era, the new group. And here's one of the newer ones. Yes, he's not that new. He's been around about a decade now, but the new Dr. Fate inside this book, working with Wildcat here, and he's giving him his, his pep talk, and you can do this, kid. Don't worry about it. But this is the current Dr. Fate holder. I think he's like the grandnephew of is it Kent Nelson? I don't know. I always forget like the real names of some of these characters on the DC side of things because I was always more of a Marvel kid, so I forget a lot of the code, the real names of characters. But anyway, the original Dr. Fate related to him. This is Khalid Nassour, if I'm saying his name right. He got this in his new I think it was during New 52, the reboot, or near around those times. Anyway, so Dr. Fate number 1 back in 2015 is when we were introduced to this character of Khalid. And Khalid gets the helmet as we get it right at the start of this issue. It's like, didn't waste no time. It's boom, there you go. You're the new Dr. Fate. Run with it. That said, this book used to be a thing. This used to be a thing. People were chasing this, especially when they were talking about the tie-ins of, hey, we're probably going to get Dr. Fate in that Black Adam movie. And we did get Dr. Fate in that Black Adam movie, but it was Pierce Brosnan, right? Anyway, that was years ago, but it still caused a stir years ago in this book, and people were chasing this at one time. There's also an incentive book or a variant cover. But this now, today, I'm surprised at how cheap this is. Copies are listed or sold for as cheap as one sold for 70 cents, and then a couple sold for 10 bucks. I mean, yeah, 10 bucks seems about right for this day and age, about 10 bucks. But then I looked at copies listed. There's an auction starting at $1.99 with a buy it now price of only $4, basically cover price. And then you got copies listed with free shipping $9, which means that's basically cover price plus shipping. And then another copy looking for 15 bucks. Okay, that's where I thought we might be, still around that $10 to $15 mark, and then have to pay shipping. But as you can see, realistically, this book is falling on hard times as far as prices go. So go find one for cheap, because I don't think a lot of people care anymore. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, the character's already 10 years old. We could be getting new storylines, new things introduced. Who knows where James Gunn's going to go with things on the DC film side of things. That always causes a stir with books. It's just, this is a newer character in the sense of DC being like a century old. A newer character that you can find, and you can find their first appearance for cheap. You might as well get it and stash it. You got nothing to lose if you can find it cheap enough. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying go heavily invest in this book or anything. I'm just saying if you could find it cheap, grab one. And there you go. That's the point. Also in this book, and kind of tied into the storyline working with Dr. Fate, is he's being chased by I forget what the mystery men or whatever. They had Solomon Grundy and a bunch of other characters chasing him down. Here, these baddies, including her right here, this Red Lantern. Newer character. it relates to all things. These guys are running down as this part of the storyline. This is Ruby, Ruby Sokov. Pretty cool character. Again, she's like an original type of Red Lantern in the sense that she's kind of a foil to Alan Scott's Green Lantern. Not so much tied exactly to the Brightest Day, that kind of stuff. And the heck was his name? I can't think of the bad guy. That first Red Lantern. Yeah, it wasn't Arrakis. I got Dune on the brain. Anyway, wait, I almost had it. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Ruby Sokov, however you say her name. She's only been around a couple of years now. She was introduced in this Justice Society of America, new #1, the new golden age. Whatever happened to the JSA when they started a whole new reboot of this team and this squad. Cool. It's a decent read. Go and check it out. And inside this book, she's running up here into Huntress, and this is where we get first introduced to her. Cool introduction. Again, still tying in with with the characters we're seeing here in these storylines now, 3 years later, because this is from 2022. It's still a book you can probably find out there. Now, whether you find it in a $1 box or a $2 box, half off cover, whatever sort of discount you might find at a shop or, like I said, flea market, wherever, that's what I'm talking about. $1 boxes are getting harder and harder to find, to be honest. Mostly because a lot of these new books cost like $5-6. So this LCS is paying $2 to $3 for these already. So they can't really discount them to $1. They're losing money to sell it at that price. They at least want to try to get their money back. But hey, you never know what you might find out there. Point being, I couldn't even find single issue sales of this book. It's just not in demand, even though there's a couple of interesting things popping off in this thing. I don't know. I think it's a book you can grab. You can find it for cheap. But you can look there. This entire 12-issue run sold for $15.50. So that's a little over $1 an issue. And then asking prices for this, I found a couple looking for anywhere from around cover price up to like $9. But again, if you go shopping, you go looking, you might be able to find runs and lots and chunks of this series, and you buy them that way, and you get them at a price where it ends up working out to be about $1 an issue. That's what I'm talking about here, because this is just cheap stuff. Not a lot of people are hunting it. It's just giving you backstory, some fillers, some connections to things. Again, if you're reading comics like I do, it's kind of fun to tie back into some of this stuff, I think, especially if you know what's going on. And if you don't know what's going on, this is how you find out what's going on. Did you go back to the older books and see where things came from? Now, with that all said, things you also might need to do that you might not want to do is get more supplies for your comics and your collectibles. It's a pain. I hate spending money on that stuff, but you got to do it to keep your stuff safe, right? You got to buy bags and boards. You got to buy short and long boxes, CGC graded boxes, top loaders, pages for your cards, whatever it might be that you need to buy to get your collectibles and keep them safe. If you're going to order from BCW, use the link below. Use my code RENA10 to get yourself 10% off your order, because you got to buy that stuff. You might as well save money if you can while you do. So 10% off, RENA10. Just use it. Save yourself some money while you're buying this stuff, because there's no harm in that, right? Why not save money if you can? With that said, I told you it's not going to be a very long one. We've only done 3 books so far, and I only got one more story I want to get to, and that's based off a news story that I was reading today. That was, again, this idea has been bandied about for a while now. We're getting a new Ghost Rider. Is it going to be a movie? Is it going to be a TV? Which Ghost Riders are going to be? We're not sure. But talk today, rumors today is they're developing Ghost Rider as a TV series. All right, cool. Maybe he'll spin off of a movie. Maybe he'll show up in a movie first. I don't know. Will they go back to the original Johnny Blaze and the Nick Cage Ghost Rider? Maybe. Probably not. My thinking, and again, maybe they'll jump to Robbie Reyes, but they did him with TV already, right? So I don't think they're going to jump to there. I feel like they missed a step in between those two and missed Danny Ketch. And I think that's probably the easiest way for them to go, with a new Ghost Rider that's still familiar, and they can do what they want with him because they haven't touched that character yet and don't have to worry about the backstories of what we did in the Marvel TV shows or the movies before. So Danny Ketch would seem like a good choice. Now, if you want to pick up your Danny Ketch, I also think Ryan Gosling was rumored how he wanted to play him. But yes, you can go back to Danny Ketch's first appearance, which is Ghost Rider #1 from 1990. We all know this book by now. You should know it by now. It's a very familiar cover. I still don't like how the Spidey head is sideways. It's kind of stupid to me, but it is what it is. It's been like that forever. But inside this book, again, this is right away introduced to Danny Ketch right here. Boom. So cool. It is what it is. You can find these out there. I'm not saying you're going to find them for $1, but you can find them pretty cheap if you want to. Giving you a sense of the prices these days, it's not high as where it once was. These things had popped up to $20 a few times before when we got more Ghost Rider rumors before. But right now, look, $866, $1650, both at auction. Not bad. Asking prices, $10, $12, $17. All right, kind of makes sense. It's still lingering in that kind of $10 to $20 price point. Don't know how much higher it can go from there unless we got some solid confirmation, some solid news. But a lot of these out there, it's a book that you already knew about. So what am I really telling you about? Not much. So I figured let's pivot again and give you something different to look for. Again, for you preview hunters. I know not everybody likes them, but they're still kind of fun to find. And I got another Marvel Age for you. So while you're looking for Marvel Age 82, you might as well look for 87 as well. Because, sorry, I didn't update the date. Again, I told you I kind of threw this together on the fly. But this is 87, so a few months after the last one. And that was 89, so this probably came out right there in 1990 before Ghost Rider came out. This is Marvel Age 87. And yes, Ghost Rider is right there on the cover, kind of focused in as a feature. But inside this book, and again, I know we're talking previews, there is a whole preview story. Like the first 5 pages of Ghost Rider 1 are basically presented inside the end of this Marvel Age book. So you got a few page preview of the upcoming issue, and it tells you even here, don't miss Ghost Rider 1. So again, it's a preview, it's a tease. It's Danny Ketch. It showed up before the actual issue came out. So technically, first appearance, right? I don't know. I know a lot of people don't like to count previews and all that stuff, and I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. I don't want to argue semantics. It doesn't matter to me. It is what it is. I'm just telling you what it is. I'm not saying what it should be worth or what you should be going and get. I'm just letting you know some information. You do with the information what you want. I'm just telling you there is a preview before Ghost Rider 1 that came out in the Marvel Age. And if you want to go find it, and you find it for a couple of bucks or $1 or $2 here, I don't know. You decide if you want to pick it up or not, because it's not that expensive of a book, but you might do well if you find one. I mean, yes, copies have sold for only like $3 recently. Not setting the world on fire. Not saying that it should either. Just pointing it out that this is something that's out there and something for you to go and hunt. And asking prices for this thing, it's like $6 to $10. So even if you find one, you're not going to get rich, but that's not the point of this. This is the point of finding books for fun. Finding books to add to your collection, to go and find things that, hey, did you know this? Did you know that? It's just more information. There's nothing wrong with that. And like I said, comics should be fun, right? So with that said, we're done. This is all I got for you this week. I know it was a little bit short, but I've been babbling on. And like I said, my deck was a little sloppy. I apologize for that. I promise to do better in 2025. But like I said, I wasn't even planning to do a show today. I just had a few extra minutes and I decided, you know what? I'm going to throw something together because I was kicking around some ideas with some of these books in my head. So I said, you know what, I'll throw it down and put it into a deck and we can just do a quick show today. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you find these books interesting. Hopefully you find all the stuff I do here on the channel interesting. And like I said, let me know in the comments down below. I want to thank you again for stopping by and for all the support, and to let you know, plenty more coming your way this year. It's a brand new year. Got a lot of new ideas. We'll get to them all eventually, but hopefully you're on board for the ride. And with that, I'll see you all soon with some more content. All right, later.